What's up, y'all? This is MVP with Juxtaposed. Today, we're going to talk about the elephant in the room, AI. How do we feel about it? What do we think about it? Far as pros and cons, we're going to talk about it today. Stay tuned.
So, if you've been using anything that's connected to the internet, you probably have not been able to escape the conversation about AI. Whether it's I would call it the notorious Chat GPT, because that seems to be the pinnacle that started everything. That's where it feels like everything really started becoming a daily conversation. To stuff like Grammarly AI, like everything has AI now. Your refrigerator might have AI soon. So we're gonna get into it today and see what
Wow.
the thoughts are, how we feel about it, and what it is. So I mean, let's jump off. What has been your interaction with any of the new AI things, and how do you feel about it?
So, I'm going to start off with I got a message at my job about AI. And they were like, hey, just so y'all know, y'all shouldn't use this for work. And I was like, yo, it's interesting that you would say that because everywhere I look, everybody's talking about AI. And I do think it's helpful in a certain way, but I also want us to be careful, right? So I'm gonna start off with that, and I want y'all to jump in as well. Aaron, what do you think? Like far as like, has anybody brought up AI to you in the
All
past
right.
2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Well, has anybody not brought it up to you? That's the question.
I'm actually waiting for my response to be generated by ChatGPT, so you're gonna have to give me a couple of seconds. I'm just getting the whole script to me right now, so I don't even have to work, don't even have to think. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like Styles said, I think it's the alternate. Not if someone has brought it up, but has someone not brought it up? Because, like you said, it's all the conversation right now. I haven't had anything like my job go in and say, hey, if you're using this, don't use it. But outside of that, everyone that I know that's around my age group or younger, definitely it's been brought up. For the most part, it's people who see the negatives in it. There are some people who see the positives in it. Me personally, I use it a little bit, but I definitely see mostly negatives coming out of this. Some positives, but mostly negatives. And I'm trying to not be one of those people who, I guess, goes into that flight or fight response when it comes to something like this. I'm kind of just taking it little by little to see what the technology does over time. But I do think that if we don't back up a little bit, then this could definitely make human beings useless for the most part.
Well, useless. I mean,
Useless, absolutely useless.
how quickly do you see that being a thing?
How quickly do I see it being where humans are completely useless or start becoming useless as a result of AI?
I would say completely useless because
Completely
I think that
useless.
that would be something that people are generally afraid of.
I don't think there's ever going to be a time when we're completely useless, but in terms of the taking away of jobs and automating tasks via AI that people have traditionally done, that's already happening. Jobs are already being taken away as a result of that. So we're just in the infancy, and the speed at which this technology is moving, this is only the beginning. 5 years, 10 years from now, the landscape is going to look extremely different than it does today.
But then the question is also, is this timing not ripe for some of that? I mean, we've had a place where COVID has completely changed the landscape of corporate America, and a lot of people don't want to do the jobs. A lot of the people can't do the jobs, and then they're getting paid to do the jobs at a lower rate or a lower efficiency as than an AI. So is it not ripe for that now?
Ripe so
Yeah, maybe ripe's not the word. Isn't it? Would you not think it's a good time to even start looking at that?
from what perspective? Because I don't know if it's ever a good time to start looking at that. I don't want to live in a society where humans are invalidated. I want humans to be validated. I want more jobs. I want more need for humans. Even though things might be a little slower, even though the efficiency might be down a little bit, we have to ask ourselves, where are we headed with this, Because once you start invalidating human beings, what exactly is the end goal? What is it that you're working towards when you start taking away tasks and efficiency and purpose from people? That's what I would want to know. So I don't think there's ever a good time for anything like this. I still want to see people in the supermarkets ringing up people at the register. I don't ever want to see a time when we don't need people to do jobs.
Well, it's interesting, and this is my last point on this. I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate if it's not clear for everybody here. But you look at stuff like there were people that worked at Blockbuster, right? There were people that worked at Blockbuster, and that was their everyday job. I worked at Circuit City. I knew people, but Best Buy is still a thing. But there were people that literally held those jobs because we needed to have somebody stack the DVDs. We needed to have somebody, do that. Now Netflix pops on the scene. There's no need for that, right? GameFly was a thing for a while. You could buy your games straight from the game consoles. Do you need them? Steam is still so I feel like we have been in a place where we're transitioning to people not being needed for everything, which I think one would potentially argue that there's a benefit from that from a cost advantage, because we're not like, no, a lot of times based on it and the way that the way that big tech is laying off people are normally the most expensive part of running a business.
Okay, yeah, that's true. But to
So,
that I ask, where do we stop?
hey, we seen it. We might just be batteries soon,
All right. And then what's the end goal? I mean, that's the one thing I would like to hear from you guys, is what you think in terms of what is the ultimate end goal with all of this. AI comes in, it automates everything, it does everything, it thinks for everyone. Robots are running the streets in terms of security guards. We got AI cameras, we got AI doing the content creation. What's the end goal is my question in all of this.
MVP, I'm gonna let you take that.
So I'm not going to start off there because, I always got two parts, right? So the first part is, I don't necessarily think that everything that's happening in the world right now is contributed to AI, right? I think that with the COVID situation, people are trying to figure out how we can get more work from people who are not exactly physically around, right? And so I look at AI, I'm gonna be honest, Joe, I think it's like a pet project. We always wanted this since the Jetsons, right? And my thing is, where the flying cars at, man? Everybody's spending all this time on AI, and I'm like, it's not going to do all the things you think people do that you don't need them to do anymore. Because I've seen some AI stuff, and my issue is, hey, you're saying the same thing over there for the next person who's using AI. Like, that's one of the reasons why I not using Chat GPT, because I looked at some forums and they're like, hey, one of the issues we're running into is that everybody is using it, and now everybody is saying the same thing. And the last time I checked, when you do that with say if you're kind of trying to use it for school, your teacher's gonna be like, yo, you copied the whole paper and the person's name? You got to do better. So I'm like, I don't necessarily think that it's affecting the market yet, but also the end goal, I think, is Terminator. But
The end goal is Terminator.
The end goal?
Can I bounce off of something that he just said?
okay,
AI stands for artificial intelligence. You said that one of the problems that they're running into is they're seeing a lot of people almost saying the same things.
yeah,
Is that truly intelligence then? Because if I ask you a question and I ask Styles the same question, and the same question is asked of me, and the same thing is asked of, say, my mom, you're going to get very diverse answers, because we all have our own brains. We all see the world differently. And when it comes to our knowledge, our experiences, and our intelligence, no two people think alike exactly. So it sounds to me like it's more like canned responses. It doesn't sound like true artificial intelligence, because 10 people should be able to ask this thing one question and get 10 very diverse answers if it's truly artificial intelligence. It almost sounds like the database is shared of one place and just spitting out canned responses.
And that is the biggest concern for people, because they're like, people say, okay, well, this helps me write an email or, come up with something faster. But a lot of people are asking for similar topics. So it's going to be very easy for that to be the case, where its stuff does sound the same. And to rebuttal your rebuttal, if you take a bunch of, like, if we were all 5-year-olds in kindergarten and you ask us the question and we all have roughly the same upbringing, we probably would give you a slight variation of the same answer, because we haven't been exposed to everything yet. And I think that's what Chat GPT is. It's in its infancy, and OpenAI and everything, they're new, and I think we're training the algorithms to be more, intuitive. So I think it's very early, and I think we are going to see it be able to, like, go in some Black Mirror style stuff. But I don't think it's going to be right now. I think we're going to need some more time.
Yeah, because I was gonna say I definitely don't think it's right now, because to go back to what Aaron's saying, I think it's a learning period too, right? Because the lack of intelligence is the lack of learning, right? So basically, how many people are actually putting information into the AI? You know what I'm saying? Because when as a human being, you experience learning from just living life, right? AI doesn't exactly have a life, so it's just sitting around waiting for people to input whatever they're looking for. And now everybody, like, I feel like people tend to, like, within this realm is the people who are normally in this realm, right? But once it gets larger known and other people, like, no disrespect, but say my parents, right? They're kind of older. If they start looking at AI and putting stuff in, now the learning starts changing. Because for me, I might be looking at some really technical things. For them, they might be like, yo, how do I get this off of Amazon? You know what I'm saying? So I do think that it's going to take some learning for it. So I'm not too nervous about it doing anything right now, but I do appreciate the people who are like, hey, let's not make this move too fast, because we know how technology goes. For example, with the phones, I remember just yesterday, I had a sidekick, flip joint. Now we got literally a computer on your phone. And so I just want us to be cautious. I don't think it's a concern yet, but I am appreciative of the people who's out there in that realm who are like, yo, we can see this being a concern in the future.
Well, the one thing I would also add to that too is, like, yeah, it could potentially be a thing in the future. It could potentially be an issue in the future, especially, like, I know, I want to say it was like mid 2021 or 2022, where Facebook had a AI that they set up, and the bots essentially started speaking its own language.
I remember that.
And it was like, it caused the greatest concern, because it was like, well, they shed the need for their oversight by the developers, because now they can talk to themselves, and they can work there. And since we have created a space where everything is connected through the internet, it's very easy to have like a Jarvis or Age of Ultron style thing, if you watch Marvel, where you have something who thinks that the only way for us to, the planet to survive is to remove all the humans. And that is like the biggest thing that people are worried about. Like, oh, we're gonna have like an iRobot Terminator style thing where police are robots and they're like stopping us for doing anything. And honestly, I don't see that in our lifetime.
Really?
But
So you haven't heard of Chaos GPT?
well, no, I have not. What is Chaos GPT?
Oh, okay. Well, there is a developer out there that took Chat GPT and created his own version of it and named it Chaos GPT. And its goal is to find a way to effectively end all humanity.
What?
Oddly enough, he only posted 2 videos, and then after that he completely disappeared. So I don't know what happened to Chaos GPT, but the goal of some people is to use this to bring society as we know it to an end. And I think it's completely possible. How it's going to happen, I don't know, but like you just said, everything is interconnected. Everything is online, so I'm pretty sure all of the weapon systems are online, all of the labs are online, all of these different ways to completely destroy humanity is online. We could see a global event that makes the C virus look like it's just a common cold if the AI is able to really put together something destructive enough to take us out. I believe that that's completely possible. I'm not usually one of those people that lands on conspiracy theory and stuff like that, but I think it's definitely possible. Maybe not now, but as you mentioned, the AI is in its infancy and it is learning. So when it starts to learn enough and it becomes powerful enough, it is going to find checks and balances to not even need humans. As we've seen, there was an AI that actually hired someone off of one of these Upwork websites to bypass a captcha. And that's just the beginning. I don't know. It's a dismal
Well,
looking future.
well, we spent. I don't know. The natural response to a lot of this stuff is kind of gloom and doom. But do we have a point to any positive things that we can see from the influx of AI related tools in your daily life?
There's a lot of positives happening right now. They're using AI to look at different proteins to cure certain diseases and things of that nature. So yeah, there's, as you mentioned, efficiency and being able to take old ways of doing things and morph it into new ways. So there's a lot of positives behind it, but the positives behind it are kind of twofold. Like it makes things better, but at the same time it further invalidates humans. And I don't know, when we solve all disease issues and everything like that, how long are people going to live? Like, what is going to happen to the population of the earth?
There'll be baby lebbits. There'll be baby caps like they have in, was it China?
Yeah, there's a reason why there's a circle of life, and I don't know. I don't, because all of it is just going to circle back to doom and gloom. So I'm going to let MVP and Mr. Styles give a little bit of their own input because gloom and doom is like my middle name.
So I'm gonna say that I do think that some positive things is, hey, I can automate stuff, right? So it is creating more time for human beings to do the things that they want to do, right?
Which is what?
Which is do the things I want to do and not the like, hey, I need to spell every word correctly. Hey, I need to put punctuation here. Hey, I need to like I have the idea, but now go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, I was agreeing with you. I was saying, or the the lengthy Excel macro that you got to run in order to get your reports.
Yeah,
Like it can help me do that quickly.
yeah. So like on some baseline stuff, like, yeah, I think that it helps to be able to like, automate some things. But also another positive is, hey, maybe someone is incapable at being at the level that people who are in technology are at, right? I say that because I'm in IT. So I'm like, I notice people ain't on my level. And I'm like, it helps people not have to worry about that. Because it's like, hey, which might X me out of my job, but it's like, hey, now that I think about it, but to a certain level, because I'm like, yo, I'm telling y'all think these machines gonna do everything, and you gonna be in a situation because I think there's a level of human emotional intelligence that needs to be involved when making certain decisions. But if we're gonna talk about the baseline things, hey, I'm getting tired of you asking me, how do I print this thing? Talk to AI, bro. It'll help you print this. But if it's like, yo, how do I fix the actual printer? That's when you call me. And that's like the lowest level of like positivity I can give you because it can go up. But just to start off with like, hey, that frees up time for other people to do other things, right? But I don't want AI to be fixing my car. I don't want AI to be like, hey, oh, he just need his oil changed. And I'm like, bro, it's not even my freaking oil, it's my spark plugs, fool. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, but the AI only has but so much information and only knows how to do but so much. I'm not going to rely on that. So, yes, I do think there's some positives with it, but I think more negatives is coming into play than positive.
Well, outside of this chaos GPT, the biggest negatives that I saw was just that like people are not thinking about it from like the longevity of like there is a point where this is going to replace majority of things. Like you just gave it that printing analogy. People who have printer spool errors, not to get too deep into like IT, can now say, "Hey, my printer's not working," and instead of Microsoft just saying, "Let me restart the printer spooler," it can actually connect with the printer and fix the issue. To me, that frees up the IT people to focus on higher level things like networking issues, which they may be able to resolve themselves eventually. You have one bot on one side, one button on the other side, and now they can fix issues before we have them. I mean, it's to me, I look at it as it's the next evolution of the tech related human experience. We used to have to think about Amazon and online. We used to have to go to the store to pick up everything. People get stuff delivered in 2 days, sometimes the same day. So,
Well, apparently they got like robots like out in the street. My boy is in like California, and he was like, "Yo, I seen a robot stroll down the street with a package," and I was like, "Well, can't somebody?" I was like, "Why are you so violent, Nick? Can somebody just rob that robot?" And he's like, "No, it has a box on it that's locked, and it has like a keypad." And I'm like, "Hold up! So you got robots strolling down the street with packages, doing the work for you?"
I mean, yeah, honestly, I don't know. It just sounds like I'm really pro robot, but my main goal here is to ensure that when the robot takeover comes out, they will reference this clip and know that I'm an ally. But no, all jokes aside, I do think that there's a lot of you're going to see a lot of things change just because that's the way the technology is going. Like I remember there was a big thing where people were complaining about like them raising the minimum wage to $15 and in a lot of places. And as a result, people like, oh, people at McDonald's, they're getting paid too much to, whatever, take our orders and fill our food. And then you saw a lot of McDonald's replace the ordering thing with like a touchscreen. And so now you need one person at the front instead of four. And then as a result, next thing is, there's going to be automated burger making. And then you know what? You can guarantee that the burger looks the same as it does because it's not human error. So there is going to be a plus, right? There's going to be pluses. It is going to make humans very invalid, as Aaron is saying, is in a lot of areas. The question is, if you know that that's coming, where do you position yourself? Because to me, I don't see to NVP's point about the flying cars. We're nowhere near flying cars, but that's also because everything that's flying in America and majority of the world is tracked by multiple towers. The only way we get to that is to be able to have all of these things, and they're tracked by people. So you need to have something that's tracking all of these things at one time, and the only way you can get to that is AI. So AI is the way to flying cars, man. That's all I got to say.
I'm hearing you guys talk, and all I'm hearing is the negative side of it. Because the burger making analogy is cool and all, but when everybody is unemployed, because let's be honest here, places like McDonald's really feed lower income people. People that are multi-millionaires and billionaires, they might enjoy that kind of crap from time to time, but the majority, and I'm willing to put my life on the line in saying this, the majority of people eating at places like McDonald's are lower income people.
So I have a question.
Okay.
I got a question. If you say that, then what was Trump doing?
What do you mean?
When he invited the team?
Come on, man.
Is he saying that he is a high earning person who eats McDonald's, or is he saying because y'all low, I'm gonna give y'all what y'all used to.
No, this is Trump's attempt, even though this is going off topic a
Oh,
little
sorry.
bit. This is Trump's attempt to appear that he's one of us because he wants those votes. That's what politicians do. They all, it's like Hillary Clinton with the hot sauce.
Oh, I was coming with that.
You know how it is. Politicians cannot be trusted.
Shucking and jiving.
Acts like that are just, in my opinion, they're insulting because Trump isn't going to McDonald's. But that being said, when the lower class, lower income people are no longer able to get these jobs, who's going to buy your burgers? The audience that you appeal to has no job. So unless they're coming in there and robbing the AI for food, no one's got any money for these. So yes, it's more efficient, but it's taking the jobs away from the people. I hate to get into the IT side of things, but as someone that has worked in IT and someone that currently works in networking, if they can ask the AI to fix the problem with the printer so that you're freed up to do other things, who's to say those other things I can't go to the AI for? And Styles used the example of networking. There's already technology out there called software-defined networking. And as someone that has studied all the way up to almost engineer level in networking, these systems are able to intelligently start looking at the network, looking at all of the different IP addresses, determine what networks they belong in, find where things are broken, and fix those problems. If this IP is missing, remove it, put it in where it belongs. Oh, a VLAN is not here. That's supposed to be somewhere that's preventing this network from talking to that network. Add that VLAN. So it's there. So as these intelligent systems begin to grow, all I can see is the invalidation of man. And my question still is to all these corporations, to Microsoft, to OpenAI, to Google, to Amazon. You mentioned Amazon's got robots walking down the streets and stuff. When everyone is unemployed because robots and AI is doing everything, where are you going to get money from to even sustain these companies? Who's buying products on Amazon? Who's going to McDonald's? Who's running Bing searches when you can't afford anything? What is the end goal? I personally, even though I have dabbled in it for a few things, I don't understand where the end goal is. At what point do you stop? Because again, if you invalidate human beings, let's say, because all of this is a money play, who's making money to buy these products and services? Who? Not the AI, because they don't need you. So what's the end goal? And I know it's all doom and gloom, but this is what comes to mind. I don't know where it stops.
I see a lot of things changing for humans at that point because, there was conversations in I think the last presidential election or maybe the one before about like universal income, and there was a lot of objection to that. So I could see like there's a lot of changes that would happen as a result because our existence right now is really very much you provide a service, you get paid for that service, right? So what happens, to your point, what happens when you don't get paid for that? Like, how do you get stuff? And then the idea is like, does money become less of a thing, right? Like, does money no longer, like, do we go, everything is cyclical, but like, do we go back to the days where you used to trade salt for, your work? Like, maybe that's where we're at, right?
And then
like,
the AI is going to mine the salt.
You never know. I mean, it's going to be an interesting world. It's very much, it feels like we are in the timeline of the Matrix, very early Matrix. And it's going to be interesting, but.
So I was going to say that to go back to Aaron's point, I think that some of the tech leaders like Elon Musk and other people are like peeping game of what you're saying. Like, hey, because they put out a statement like, yo, we need to put a hold on this, because I think they're thinking about their bottom line too. Because, and I think that's interesting because as a tech head, you probably would think, hey, bring in more AI so I don't have to pay as many employees. But if you're not paying employees, like you said, who's going to buy all the things I'm selling you? Because the AI don't need to buy nothing. And so when they threw that out there, now that you're speaking this live in color with Juxtaposed, I'm like, yo, you know what? Maybe they thought like, hey, who if AI takes over everything and takes all the jobs, how am I going to justify paying these people to buy my stuff? And so with the tech head saying like, yo, we need to put a hold on this, I think that's very important to note.
Well, you have to think about it too this way. There is, because we're so interconnected, it's very easy to for some AI to subvert some code that's blocking them from getting nuclear,
Access.
very, very easily. Like, and I gotta assume that someone like Elon is like, well, someone with a good artificial intelligence can prompt something to steal all the trade secrets that you would have to actually get a job for. Somebody has to, you have to pay somebody that works there, and you'd have to kind of do all of that stuff in order to get to that information. Now you can probably have somebody brute force a bunch of stuff and get it a lot easier. So it breaks down a lot of the old school rules and laws and walls, for lack of a better terminology, that we have currently. But the question is, where do we, like, we've seen a lot of creative things also be thrown into the mix. How do you guys feel about the AI Rihanna singing Beyonce, or the AI Drake's singing a Jay-Z record or something? Like, what is your thoughts on that?
So let me start this off, please. Please, like, give me the baton and let me run it, right? I have an issue with that. As a creator, I'm trying to contain my anger. You telling me that I've spent years putting in the time to craft my sound, my voice, my tones. And then you're just gonna take that and flip it with the AI and run with it and make a song and be like, hey, this is MVP? No, that is not me, bro. And some people were like, well, it sounds better than your music. Okay. That's why it's called growth. That's why it's called art, bro. Like, you can't give my style of doing things and creating and give it to some, no disrespect to the machines out there, just in case they see this in a couple years, but give it to a machine and it's just gonna run with my style, bro. Like, I don't appreciate that. We call that on the streets, jacking my style, uh, being a what is it? A biter, not a writer. You know what I mean? Like, if we start championing AI's biting and not writing, I just don't see how that's gonna be art. And yes, it might sound great, but I think that's the whole point of putting your heart and soul into certain things. Like, if it doesn't work for the AI, the AI ain't gonna be like, dang, let me go back to the drawing board. It's just gonna be some person behind the keys, like, okay, let's enter this line, and then you run with it. And I think that's cheap, bro. You have the most expensive equipment called AI, but that's the cheapest thing you could do, is take away the heart and soul of creating art, bro.
No, I agree with you. And personally, I'm someone that likes music and things of that nature, but I am not one of those people who get attached to the people making the music. I like, you could just provide me with the music. I maybe check out a show or two. Outside of that, I really don't care what's going on with the person. It sounds terrible, but it's the truth. I'm sorry. That being said, I heard some fake Drake AI music, and ah, shit was hard, bro.
It was good. It was good.
It
Yeah.
was, and I was saying to myself, I don't know how I feel about this, because there's a version of Drake that I personally enjoyed much more than what he's morphed into, quote unquote, the growth that you're mentioning. There's people who want Kanye to do the kind of music Kanye used to do, Jay-Z to do the kind of music Jay-Z used to do. And those people can literally get that, but it's not coming from the actual artist. And that one is a difficult one to deal with for me, because Now you have to remove your own personal selfishness, because just like everything else I've advocated for, it is going to remove that aspect of life. But I was listening to Joe Budden's podcast, and he was
Who?
mentioning
Sorry, I couldn't do it. I can resist. Go ahead.
he was mentioning that this is where the age of live music becomes even more important than it ever has been, because now it's not so much about what you're hearing on a streaming service. It's about the type of performance you enjoy when you go out to those shows. And I could definitely see how that could change the landscape for live music, because let's be honest, we've been to shows where the artists are putting forward absolutely no effort on their live show. And it's like, why did I pay for this nonsense? But when the AI comes in and is jacking all your stuff and you're seeing your revenue plummeting, now you are forced to be the best version of yourself. And no one can replicate that live other than you. So we might actually see more creativity from some of these
I
artists rather than them dialing it in, so to speak. Because
I
then someone could use AI to dial it in.
I want to pitch a a compromise. If that's what people want, then pay me for, since y'all saying, hey, y'all don't care about me, then pay me for my style. Every time that AI does whatever it is associated with, like we can get into the trenches. I'm trying to give y'all my heart and soul. But if y'all want to be like, hey, I don't care about you, just give me the music, that's fine. Then pay me. Pay every time that AI says anything that I've said with my voice, because I heard the Drake joint.
Mm-hmm.
It sound like him.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard some Kanye stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It sound like him.
Mm-hmm.
Then pay me every time. And this is like, y'all can't have your cake and eat it too, with ice cream and candles lit. No. We gotta draw a line somewhere, bro.
I think honestly, and this might be the biggest thing that they need to do, is there needs to be the same way you can play a like if you play a Drake record on YouTube, immediately it gets flagged. There needs to be some digital imprinting that's done for voices that, says, okay, well, this person's that voice, and you can't use this without their permission. I think that needs to be really the next step. And maybe I just gave somebody a $1 million idea, but
No, that's been happening.
yeah, it needs to happen, because I think that's the only way you can fight against that. But you said it's been happening.
Yeah, it's been happening on places like YouTube. Those fake tracks, when they get uploaded,
They can pull down.
companies like UMG come in and flag them and get it removed.
Yep. UMG definitely reached out and was like, hold up, what y'all doing over there?
That
Yeah.
is but that is somebody actively doing that. So if it's something
Well,
that doesn't
yeah,
become that
yeah.
large, then they could essentially stay there for a little longer.
Right. And I think it will happen, because
I think-
when we first started using platforms like YouTube, you could put anything up there and whatever. Now there are systems in place. Once you do it, it does this copyright check, and it's just like, nope, not going to let this happen. So I think as we see more and more of that happening, you probably will see checks and balances in place for stuff like that.
Well, and to the one other thing I want to say too, from your style thing. I mean, we saw the rise the last couple of years of like digital artists, like FN Mecca was
Yeah.
that was something that they were doing before the AI kind of popped off, and
Mhm.
that was a big deal for
Mhm.
a short time. And there's also another thing that popped up that I saw from one of our friends, and it was this model called Shudu, and it's literally it's called the Digitals. There's a whole modeling agency that has a bunch of brand ambassadors that are all virtual.
That's crazy.
And it's like they literally, you assume that there was a unique thing about like the brand ambassador thing where it's like, I'm an influencer. I've garnered this amount of people, and they're essentially, they're not fake, but they're not real. They're essentially GTA characters, bro.
Mhm.
They're essentially GTA
NPCs.
characters that now are brand influencers.
Nasty
So
work, man.
I think there's a level to it, right? Because you mentioned that artist, Mecca dude. Where did that go? Because at the end of the day, at least with hip hop culture, I was under the impression we don't like that fake stuff. So when like, and I noticed that when people come out and say, "Hey, this is fake," they fall back. Now, if they don't know and they keep banging with you, and then you kind of like let them know, then they might fall back. But if you start off like, "Hey, this is fake," usually you kind of die out after a while. And when I say a while, I mean like a year, maybe. Like I forget that white boy name who was like doing drill music or something. And then there were he came out and was like, I think his name was like Jesus or Jesus or something, whatever his name was. He was doing drill and he was like, "Yo, I'm not really about that life." Everybody went away from it. And when you go,
Yeah, I don't. That's not always the case though, because like Post Malone said, he's not a rapper, and he was 100% a rapper when he started. So I don't know if there's like, oh, this is not a thing, that like this is not a, oh, I'm not, this is not really what I'm about.
well, Post Malone doesn't really talk about gangster stuff.
No,
Like
no, but
he might
he's a
not be a
rapper.
rapper, but he's still
He-
making music. I'm saying, hey, if you're this avatar artist or whatever, and I know you're not, like, I'm just saying nobody banged with it. So either they go back to the drawing board and figure it out, because I heard about that maybe in like a week or two. People stop talking about it because one, you're appropriate. What's the word where you take appropriating? Like if it was somebody else who was actually like that, it wouldn't have been that situation. But what people are doing is you think you can just take AI and just assume that people gonna bang with it because it looks like me. But I think a little more people are more woke than that now. Like, yo, I see you're doing this just to get the money, just to get, even with the Trump and the Hillary, we saw what you were doing. There are people who are starting to pay more attention to that fake stuff, and hopefully it'll keep going in that direction where AI ain't gonna just be able to just do whatever it wants to do.
My one rebuttal to that is that FN Mecca had a record deal with Capitol Records.
Correct.
That wasn't fake. He literally, someone paid them to do that.
His
so
stuff was on Spotify.
It was real.
And you know why they got him out of here?
Because he got a little too real.
Because he got canceled basically.
Thank you.
No. He didn't get canceled. He didn't get canceled being fake. He got canceled for what he said.
Right, exactly. So basically, he got canceled because of the cultural appropriation, the inappropriate language that he was using as a white robot rapper or whatever he is, and the record label folded, and that's why they got him out of here. But if FN Mecca was making enough money, the record label was not folding.
Y'all do understand the person who wrote that was black.
Yeah, but the character was white.
The person who wrote it was black, but the person who created it was an Asian dude named Brandon Lee, I think.
The guy who performed all that bullshit he was saying was black. And that's what we don't like that. I don't care. Like if you look like the colors in your hair and whatever, he was black, and black people were still like, no. It looks like appropriation because this Asian dude created the avatar.
I hear you and everything, but like honestly, this is no different to like Bad Baby, or any of these people who had or Rebecca Black. You remember Rebecca Black?
I remember her.
The Friday song.
Yeah.
There was somebody who came and they took a person in front and they wrote a song for them, and this was a black dude. Helped to promote the song. Same thing with Bad Baby. Bad Baby is considered an actual rapper now. She was you understand? Like there's no difference to that than the digital thing. It's just that with the digital thing, it's not a person you're molding. It's something you could just draw some lines on and call it a day. So,
well, just I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna drop the mic. We don't like that over here, bro. Keep that away from this side of the city. DC, DMV, we don't bang with that over here. And I'm speaking for the city right now.
Until something pops up and it's actually good.
That's the mic drop right there, because I'm telling you, these labels do not care about this culture.
Nope.
If
they
there's
never have
money behind it, they will keep doing it, period. That's all. That's all that matters. It's all about
y'all.
Look at 6ix9ine. Dude is everything that we hate. But the money was there because the numbers are there. I just saw a video with him doing a show with, dude, I couldn't even tell you how many people were in the audience. It's crazy. As long as there's enough money behind this, they are not going to stop. They only appeased us because FN Mecca was pretty brand new and he was building a little steam, but he had nothing to go with. That's why he was able to be canceled.
And then on top of that too, we have seen in the past, not in hip hop, but we've seen in the past where people have performed that we not know. Well, I guess it did happen with MF Doom, where we don't know who they are, right? Like the Gorillas.
True.
So it's very possible. It's very possible that the live show, if we can get to the point where a live show is as good as, I mean, the Gorillas been doing it for so long, so clearly people are going to their show. Or even like Daft Punk.
Mm-hmm.
Or Dead Mouse, like all these people who you don't know what they look like.
Even Slipknot.
Yeah, we could go to a space where FN Mecca could actually have a live show.
That's true. Yeah.
So, nowhere safe.
Because I would say the direction would be like, hey, I can get the AI to do this, and then I can just make a FN Mecca, and with the live, I have technology that can, like, you see, remember when they did that fake
the hologram.
Yeah. So all that's possible. I guess it's on humanity to like check that and make sure, because I'm like, yo, if y'all want that to happen, then by all means go with it, but I don't think that's going to benefit any of us in the long run. Like, it's going to, like Aaron said, it's going to knock us all off the planet. And I'm like, I think secretly everybody wants the Terminator thing to happen. Like, we want it so bad. I say that because we're doing all the things we know not to do, and we're still doing it. Like you think you're gonna put some laws in place to be like, hey, AI or something very intelligent that's like a robot or Android or whatever. Hey, these the laws in place. Don't do this. And then every time it figures out a way to get around the laws, like human beings do.
Detroit Become Human.
You say what?
Detroit Become Human.
Is that a game?
It is a video game, and it's based on, so like you see that and it's just like, wow, yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Outside the Wire with Anthony, the dude,
Anthony Mackie, yeah,
Anthony Mackie, where he's like an android and he's like, he figured out a way to do whatever he want to do, and they had laws in place. So I'm like, yo, I think secretly we're doing all the things that we've predicted way in the past that's going to happen to lead up, and I'm gonna use the word Terminator just for sake of conversation, because there's a lot of movies out there that describe this. And I'm like, we just keep doing it though. We keep, like, we love that. We want to destroy ourselves.
Well, I think that's a very gloom and doom approach. I do think I think it's a natural progression of things. At one point, to get from London to New York, you had to take a boat for months. Now you could get there in a couple hours. To like plow your fields, you had to use a horse. And if that horse decided that it didn't want to work today, your fields weren't getting plowed. Technology, it's just a natural progression of things. The question is, where is safe? Where do we, what area is carved out to say, well, there's a long time before we get to this getting taken over to AI, or getting replaced. Humans are being replaced by artificial intelligence. And I don't know, honestly, not many places, man. I mean, once we start seeing more self-driving, the buses are going to be the first thing to go. Like, we're not going to need bus drivers anymore. But the funny thing is that the arguments on that side is that we would then, like, even with self-driving, I think that was iRobot. They're like, well, we don't need people driving because people driving are the reasons why we have accidents.
Well, then you realize that in that same movie, my boy, Mr. Smith, thank God he knew how to manual, right? Mm. And so if we go to like the whole Wall-E movie, where everybody was doing nothing and the AI and computers was doing everything for them, if you have a guy like Will Smith who's like, yo, because he like the manual whatever tried to kill him. I mean the automation tried to kill him, but he was so used to not trusting that and doing his own thing manually that he was able to get out of that situation, right? And so when I say, hey, I think we have a responsibility, and this is where I say I think society doesn't care, because while Wall-E, WALL-E, shows you that if we keep going on this path, we've already seen it. I mean, yes, COVID happened, so it actually was beneficial, but we have to be conscious of not to let it take over our lives to the point where AI and technology is doing everything for us. You know what I'm saying? That we have to find, so to answer your question, Styles, we have to find a balance. Like you said, hey, you can take such and such to get to a certain place quicker, but there's some people who don't even want to get on that. You know what I'm saying? Like they like, hey, I could take a flight to get to this place. You know what? I don't even like flying. I'm gonna drive. So maybe use AI if it's necessary.
Yeah, but unfortunately, that's not how it works. Like that's not how it works, right? Like, we could say, okay, well, we don't want to drive. We want to use horses because that was closer to like a natural. It's a low emissions way to travel, but you have to get to work at 9 o'clock. You got to leave off on your horse at like 6:30.
I know we don't like animal brutality, so could we use something else?
What? How's that brutality? People still ride horses,
Because
bro. What are we
I
talking about?
feel some type of way about the way we treat horses. Because it's like, does that horse really want to run like that and have you sitting on top of it like that? We never asked the horse.
Does a car want to be pushed all the way for
you're gonna compare a living being?
No, I'm just saying,
car.
We have to be very, very. It's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope.
It is a slippery slope. Yeah,
but I just say I don't see a thing where we have started to, as humans, become very. And we talked about this in one of the other podcasts. We've become very used to the easy way of doing things.
Yes.
Not remembering cell phone numbers. Mm-hmm. Now, all of these things we had to do as just people who existed are no longer a thing because of technology. So the next step is when I asked Google to, I'm making sure it doesn't actually hear me.
I was looking around my background too, like, hold on.
when I asked this thing, like, can you, find me a recipe for a souffle? It says, based on your stove and your temperature in your house, the humidity, this is the best recipe for you to get the best souffle. That's what we all want, really. That's You want to be able to ask it and know, like, hey, when I say I want you to turn off all the lights in my house, you don't just turn off one light, right? Like that's kind of what we have been slowly progressing to that. When the last time you got off the couch or the bed to turn off your TV? That was Aaron's thing. Yeah. So
yeah. We want that. But I do run into issues where I'm not even going to you can't even say that person's name, right? Because it's going to pick up on everything you're doing. That's a problem. Amazon. So like I'm like, Alexa, like I could be talking and it start like picking up on everything I'm doing. And even though it does help me do a lot of things, like get into work mode and turn off my lights and everything, I do realize, like, hey, sometimes I just be talking and it's picking up what I'm saying. And I'd be like, yo, shut up. Why are you doing things? I'm not talking to you. And so I think that's a problem because that means it's always listening. And if we have something that's always listening, I feel like there are people in the world who can take advantage of that. So when we say AI, I'm like, yo, there are people in the world who can take advantage of that and make that a problem. So let's just be cautious of that.
I'm going to jump into one real quick second and let you know that people have already been doing that. People have already been listening to you. If you carry a cell phone, use a debit card, use the internet, people know exactly what you like to do, what you like to spend your time on, where you spend your money, what is interesting you for targeted ads. It's like the whole joke about like whether you say something in the room and then all of a sudden you start seeing ads for it. People already do. We've already passed that, and that's why I'm like the AI stuff that we're seeing. By the time we start seeing it as human beings and non government people, it's already been around for a while. It's like the internet's been around forever. Until they started making it available to everybody else, they had already moved off of the initial usage. So they're robots right now waiting to be used, bro. So
So maybe I should be like one of those, like, I know y'all seen the movies where like the people come up and they're like, yo, no telephones in the house because they listening. Maybe I gotta be like, yo, you know what I'm saying, if I get older and have kids, like, hey, no AI in the house. Because I think it's on that individual, like, because like you said, it's all been around. But I guess my thing is, if you say that to me, I'm like, are you expecting me to be deflated and not try to put effort into not making it a problem for me and my family? Because, like, yeah, phones have been listening and stuff like that, but certain things you don't say on the phone, you say in person.
yeah, but
You know
then
what I'm saying? Like,
you have the phones, you have the smartwatches, you have the computer. We have computers with mics. Every computer has a mic. Your TV remote now can listen to you as you tell it stuff. Literally, you cannot escape. Your Roomba could be listening. There was a article about the Roomba was taking pictures of people in the room, and it turned up being inappropriate because they were naked, not thinking about the fact that it's imaging and it's sending data back.
Right.
So anything that you literally, if you want to be off the grid, you literally need to live in a cabin, no electricity, you pay for everything in cash. And even then, cash is not. You see, watch. We're moving to a place where cash is going to go away. We're already there. So at that point, there is no way to escape the digital imaging that's happening in your life.
Exactly. I'm right alongside you with that. With the smart assistants, with the watches, with the phones. We're carrying GPS systems. We're carrying cameras. We're carrying microphones. You step out into the streets, Big Brother is recording everything that's happening around you. You're ingrained. There's no way to escape it. It's happening.
so y'all saying all hope is lost?
I mean, it depends on what you consider hope, because what are you hoping for exactly?
I'm hoping for a balance where I make the right decisions and still have the ability to use the technology that's in place.
So when you start saying I want to use the technology in place, then yeah, all hope is lost. Because no, because the reason is that the technology that's in place is their technology. You're just using it. So hope is lost because by the time you decide to pick something like this up, you've surrendered all control to them. It's as
With
simple
the
as
phone.
that.
With everything.
Yeah.
It's not even just a phone. It's with
Right.
everything.
I just use this as an example, but yeah, the minute you pick their technology up, and that applies to everything, even our cars.
Mhm.
Every time you pick that, yeah, and they have the ability to shut it down, they have the ability to listen in, they have the ability to upload, they have it. You're just paying for the opportunity to give them data. That's really it.
And
So
data is king.
yeah, and if you're going to use the technology because you want to be a part of society, yes, you've given up control. And if the hope is to not give up control, then yeah, hope is lost. You've given it up to them.
I just I get it. Yes, I get where you're coming from. I just feel like we've been primed for this for a long time. Like, as you mentioned, multiple movies of like what it would look like in that dystopian future where technology has taken over everything, whether it's, Wall-E, Matrix, Terminator, iRobot. Like, the list goes on. There's Eagle Eye. Eagle Eye is probably the closest thing we get to before we get to the next one. Like Black Mirror. There's so many things, and honestly, the truth is, I mean, not to get too conspiracy theorists, but I feel like in a lot of those cases, it's those things are made to kind of desensitize how we feel about it. Like, they make these movies to desensitize it because it's a natural thing that I feel like it was coming. It was coming. Like, this stuff was coming. It's been coming for a while. So the minute you get the stuff in your house that literally can give you your calendar and you think, oh yeah, that's the easy thing. It's just telling me how my traffic is to work. Like it actually you cash a chip in for more AI stuff. That's just how it is. So what's up, man? What I see you die laughing over there.
I'm so stupid because you kept saying how it's been coming, it's been
Oh
coming, it's been
God.
coming, and I'm like, now that it has arrived, do you enjoy it?
Oh my goodness. You're
I'm just asking.
listen, I want to say for the record, unrelated to what he's talking about, from an
What am I
AI
talking about? I'm
standpoint.
talking about now that the technology has came, do you enjoy the technology? That's all. What are you
I
talking
would
about?
say from the ease of use and the tool as a tool. Damn, this is just getting worse. I'm done
Listen,
talking.
I don't know
Clean
what
it up.
you're thinking about, but yes, you're right.
Yeah.
These are all tools in our life. I
Anyway,
agree.
I honestly think it's making life a little easier, but to your both of your points, to what end?
That's really all that's the only question that I've been asking is at what point, because MVP even mentioned how Elon Musk said, hey, we need to kind of pump the brakes on this. And then 2 weeks later, they found out that he's developing AI internally at Twitter. So it's like, yeah, you guys pump the brakes over here because I want to get the foothold on this
First,
technology.
yes.
So I don't know where we're going. To be quite honest, it's extremely scary. I don't know where our jobs are going to be. I don't know where our livelihood is going to be. And there's really not much that you can do about it. All that you can really do is somewhat embrace it and try to find a way to implant yourself so that you're not left behind. And that's kind of where I am at the moment, because you can try and fight and kick and scream as hard as you want, but it's going to come regardless. So that's kind of where I am with it. It's just about really paying attention to the landscape and just seeing where things are going, because you have no choice.
Get in where you fit in. And I mean, and it's the natural change of things. Like, to use the horse analogy again, there was somebody who just made plows for horses.
They made what for horses?
Plows
To plow like what?
to plow the ground, to do your farming, and made attachments for horses to work the land. And then
Only a
we
matter of
created
time.
tractors. And then we stopped. We severely diminished the amount of
Mhm.
horses used in
Yeah.
there, and the business is different. I mean, that person either got on the wave or they lost out, and it's like, not to go too deep because we've been on this for a long time, but like the BlackBerry thing. BlackBerry saw that apps were a thing, and they're like, "Oh, it's a fad; it will pass." Now, where's BlackBerry, bro? Where is
Gotta
BlackBerry?
embrace it. Yeah, because they did not embrace it, and then their whole business model fell apart.
And
So
we've seen that happen time and time again. We've seen it happen with cabs, with Uber.
Toys R Us.
We see it happen with Toys R Us.
Toys R Us.
Like, look at how many times we've had stuff, and even like the fall of Circuit City was the same thing for me. And like, I watched that happen inside, like internally. They just were not prepared for the change in times, and you got bulldozed over.
Toys
So
R Us went to the next level with it. They literally handed their business over to Amazon and watched the retail side of things just come in and completely decimate. Exactly. Now they're gone. So you got to be on the forefront almost. If you have to become a prompt engineer, become a prompt engineer. If you have to start creating content with the use of AI, start creating content with the use of AI, because as much as you may not like it, the feeling of being left behind and
worse.
being incapable of taking care of yourself and your family, that's probably an even worse feeling.
Yep.
Sometimes you got to dance with the devil.
Yep. So I think it's a good place to wrap it up. This is a very long conversation, and honestly, probably one of many. Because as more things develop, there'll be another thing that pops up that we're like, oh, okay, well, this is what it is. We didn't even talk about Boston. What is it, Boston Robotics? What is the name
Oh
of that
yeah,
company?
yeah. With all these different robots that they're building,
Yeah.
you've seen how they are rolling out like robot dogs in New York
In
City
New
and all
York
kinds
City,
of
yeah.
nonsense. Like it's
So
outrageous.
we're gonna definitely, as we talk about more tech stuff, and this is a thing, it's definitely gonna come up. But definitely appreciate everybody tuning in. If you disagree with everything we said, please let us know. If you agree, let us know. If you're indifferent about this stuff, drop us a comment. Let's talk about it. I think the only way through this is healthy discourse. We need to all be talking about this and figuring out where where you get in, where you fit in. Like what is going to be the future and what are you trying to do? So we're always open to those conversations. It's been a great one. Thank you as always. Till next time, treat the AIs nice. They might rule the world soon. So, peace.